Howdy folks, you've nearly survived 25. I want to thank you all for your participation in David versus the Media, a very popular series, and hope to be back next year for more.
Do you have a reaction to this settlement that was announced this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to put things right, and if you can do that either by the common law or by parliamentary statute, depending on which settlement you're talking about, then that's a good thing.
And you're happy with how the arrangement went? The one that was announced by Judith Collins this morning?
Right, that one, okay, because there's also Koreri Pōpā, so I didn't know which one you're talking about. Look, it is only fair that people have the right to have their day in court. They've done this under trust law, which goes back literally hundreds of years from when knights used to go off on crusades and leave their assets in trust. You can't be against that. These people had land taken off them, they went to court, they re-established their rights, and now they're being compensated for that detriment. That's how the law should work if you believe in common law and property rights.
Thank you. No and there's also a new report out from Westpac that shows that consumer confidence is starting to lift. Does that give you optimism for the year ahead?
You know, it fits with what I'm hearing out there in the streets. People say that they're starting to have busy days again in retail. Tradies are starting to say that they're actually getting some bookings for next year. So right across the country, wherever I go, rural, urban, people are starting to feel a bit positive. I'm always a bit cautious because we had this at the start of this year, and then of course with the whole Trump tariff thing, we took a nosedive through the winter, but it does feel like things are more positive again.
Are you confident with the amount of debt on the horizon for the government?
I think that the New Zealand government has a long-term challenge. As people live longer, have fewer children, there's more people who are taking out and there are fewer people who are paying tax to make it work. We have to confront that. I won't be popular for saying it, but as a patriotic New Zealander and a politician with a duty in this parliament, we need to start being a bit honest about our future. There are some people who want more and new taxes. I oppose that. I want a smaller, more efficient government that we can afford with our current taxes, or ideally less tax.
So I guess that begs the question though, what is the solution?
Well, you're probably not going to go through the whole debate here, but there's basically what is the efficiency of the services we offer. Often you look at a government department has far more staff than any business in the private sector would ever employ to do the same thing. What is the scope of the services that are offered? There's too many departments doing too many things in my view. You know, Ireland has 16 ministers and 16 government departments. We got about 40. And yet they have the same population as us. We've got nearly 3 times as much government. That can't be right. And then there's the amount of cash entitlement. So at the moment, just about every other country is changing their age of entitlement to superannuation. Eventually, we're going to have to ask ourselves, people live longer, have fewer children as taxpayers than they did in, say, the 1960s, then you're going to have a change.
Just expanding on that a little bit, the Secretary to the Treasury yesterday said the number of superannuants is going to rise from about 950,000 to about 1.1 million over the forecast period. That's going to come with a huge financial bill. What's your solution to tackling that?
Well, these are people that have worked hard all their lives, and they're entitled to get something for what they were promised when they started their careers. But equally, there's a simple mathematics. People used to have like 9 children in the middle of the 1950s and 60s. Some still do, but it's rare. And so therefore you've got fewer taxpayers. People used to die in their late 60s or early 70s. Now we live a whole extra 10 years on average, which is great, but it just means the amount of people drawing super and the number of taxpayers left to pay for it has shifted, and potentially shifting the age is an important debate New Zealand has to have. They do it in Australia, America, Canada, Britain, Germany, Ireland, Italy. Just about every country you think about is making these changes. We are going to have to bite that bullet. Now, if we don't, it will be forced on us. There'll be a big earthquake or a pandemic or some sort of financial crisis in the future, and then they'll say, oh, we can't afford it, we're going to have to make the change suddenly, and then people will be very upset.
ACT and National share similar views on the issue of superannuation. New Zealand First, of course, is strongly in the other way, favouring the other way, I guess. Do you think that National and ACT should make it a bottom line in negotiations in the future? Will you take that to the election campaign, and will you hold that against New Zealand First?
Just hold your horses, Mikey. Elections next year. I know you're excited about it, but we just got to hold your horses. Yeah, it is. It is. Look, we'll get to those sorts of things next year. It's actually up to the voters. What I'd say to people is, look, we love this country. We want it to be sustainable. something to think about over the summer, if I can be so bold, is how are we going to make sure that we pay our way without more taxes? Because if all our answers are to put another tax on things people do, I guarantee you people will vote with their feet and leave to places like Australia where their taxes overall are already lower.
Are you happy with the road cone pilot?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've gone out, we've learned something, and now we move forward with new rules that are going to tackle the problem. There'll be some people that will say, oh, you never should have done it because you didn't get enough complaints. Actually, I think you have to be prepared to try things, and once you know how they've worked out, be prepared to change course, and that's exactly what the government's done.
Was it a good use of money though?
Yeah, absolutely, because if you were sitting back a year ago saying this is one of the biggest problems we have, it's causing congestion and frustration, we need to get to the bottom of it, if you do something that rules out an option, that's called progress. If you want people that know all the answers on day one, you can find people that will tell you they do, but I tell you most of the time they don't.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, folks.